Welcome, all you business geeks, to the Business Geeks podcast, an entrepreneurial show where three friends geek out loud and proud on everybody's business. I'm Super Joe Pardo of superjoepardo.com and indiepodcasters.com. I'm joined by my two wonderful co-hosts, Jennifer Crawford, the co-founder of Sparent.co, and Samantha Riley of SamanthaRiley.global. This week, we are talking about egos and if they are too big for your business and what you can do about it and how to handle it. And I guess, hopefully, how to handle somebody else that has a big ego, like a partner or somebody else that you're working with. So how's everybody? Sam, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing so well. The humidity in Sydney has hit. We're heading into summer and anything could happen to my hair over the next half an hour because I can feel it growing.
Well, yeah, and I can actually see because your camera is doing wonderful now. How awesome!
I know. How
awesome
good is
that?
Leon? He spent the day in the office yesterday and got it all set up, and I magically showed up this morning and it's all different.
Woo! I love it. I love it. Love it. Jen, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Doing great.
Fantastic.
Still doing my burpees.
How many are you up to?
Today is 57 burpees. Oh, and I'm also doing the same number of sit-ups. So it's 57 burpees, 57 sit-ups.
That is epic, Jen.
That
is epic.
You're going to be super fit in no time.
Yeah.
There.
What a machine.
I'm just a machine. Nobody is videotaping me doing these things, thank goodness, because it sounds much more impressive than it actually looks impressive in reality. I promise you.
That picture of how I look in my mind, how I'm running, running on the beach versus how I actually look.
That's exactly what I'm referring to.
Yeah, look, unless someone else is doing 57 burpees, no one can comment. No one can comment.
I'm a sweaty mess in the basement. But anyway. How about you, Joe? How are you doing?
Oh, I am doing overall wonderful. We're doing it day by day here in COVID land. Have they renamed America yet? Is that
COVID land?
Is that rumor true?
Land of COVID.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
We're earning the name. I will say that we are earning it.
Yeah, for decades to come. Remember that time when everybody just had to wear a mask and it's like, oh, that was too much to ask. Apparently,
that's going to be around for a bit.
Well, that brings us right back around to our egos because people have too big egos to wear a mask, right? And Jen, this is your topic for this week. And also, before we start, there is an announcement we're going to make towards the end of this episode. So stick around for that. Jen, lead us off here.
Well, I love this topic because I like to talk about, for whatever reason, I like to analyze things that might be a threat to our businesses, because we all know that those scary statistics of how many businesses fail in the first year and the first 5 years. So anything that I think us business geeks can do to lower that risk by bringing some awareness to some threats that we actually have control over, I think then we're doing our job over here. So ego is one of those things that can really introduce some vulnerabilities to your business, and it's something that we have some control over. So I thought it would be a good topic for this week. And I also wanted to make a distinction between ego and confidence because they are entirely different things, but often are confused or thought of as the same thing. So just a quick distinction. One is earned. That is confidence. Confidence is earned by, building things, making things, creating things, accomplishing things. And the other, ego, is imagined.
Oh.
Okay. So let's kick it off. I found some great information about ego. It makes us susceptible to manipulation. It narrows our field of vision. It corrupts our behavior, and it often causes us to act against our values. And I think when our values and our business have a disconnect, then we're in real trouble.
I agree. I think that is one of the biggest things that can send a business really down the wrong path is being out of alignment with their values and your personal values and your business values. And that's something that you always need to do a check-in with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm not sure exactly how to launch this topic properly, but I would love to know, like, have you guys dealt with people in your life, either in business or otherwise, that are egocentric? And
I'm sure
okay.
all of us have been on a phone call or a sales call with someone that's got a big ego. And I think, at the beginning of my business journey, I would try and talk this person around. Now, if it comes out, it's a hard shutdown for me. I haven't got time for that, because when someone's got a big ego, you can't talk them around.
It's very, very hard. Yeah, you're exactly right. I like to think of it as toxic vanity.
Ooh. You always got the fancy stuff coming out, Jen.
Toxic vanity.
Toxic vanity.
Because somebody that is driven by their ego does tend to be somewhat of a toxic personality. Certainly not a very good leader. And I think in order to have a successful business, you need to be a really good leader, because eventually you're going to have a team that you need to lead in order to continue to grow your business and to design a culture, again, that aligns with their values. Yes, fancy names, Tim Gillette. Coming up with all the fancy names.
But you just mentioned team, Jen.
Yeah.
You can also have big egos on team. That also doesn't go down too well.
Yes, you're so right, Sam. That's so true.
Yes, it's not fun when your team members start telling you what to do. And I'm not talking about brainstorming. Like, I really love the team that I've got now, because everyone brings their ideas to the table. No one gets talked down. Everyone listens to their ideas and we all brainstorm. It's great. But I have had people on my team before that will not be part of that. They won't listen. They think that everything except for their way is not good. Toxic vanity.
Toxic vanity. Well, and the weird thing about ego-driven people is that outwardly you may think that they're very confident because they outwardly may portray themselves as very confident. But inwardly, what's going on inside of these people is they're very vulnerable and they're very insecure. And I'd like to give you a real life example taken from Survivor, season 20, Heroes versus Villain, currently on Netflix.
Not specific much.
All
No.
right.
So on Heroes,
episode?
no. On Heroes versus Villains, one of the villains, is he a villain or a hero? I forget, but his name is Coach, and he was very confident in his episode. He's since been voted off. Very outwardly confident as a leader. He calls himself the Dragon Slayer. I mean, this is somebody that's just very outwardly confident. However, in one of the tribal councils, another survivor questioned his leadership. She wasn't aggressive, but she said that, hey, you tell people what to do, and then you walk away from the situation, and nobody can find you while all of us are doing the work. So, okay, so whether that's true or not, it doesn't matter, because the coach was devastated. He fell apart. He literally was crying. Anybody that listened, he was complaining about what she said to him. And that told me a lot about Coach, that he was completely egocentric, because if he was confident, no matter what, if she questioned him or not, he wouldn't have had such an extreme reaction, because inside, even though he was outwardly confident, inside he was completely vulnerable and insecure, and she got to him.
Wow. Very nice story, Jen.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And
Okay.
sorry, you go, Joe.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, was he micromanaging the team? Was he like really
Doesn't sound like it if he's
trying
walking
to?
away.
Well, what?
He was putting himself or fancied himself a leader. He was very outspoken about his integrity, how his word was his honor. And that, to me, whenever somebody has to tell me that, just, tell me that they're full of integrity, that their word is their honor, like, to me, it's just words. Like, why are you telling me this? Why don't you just show me who you are? Like, your actions should be all that is needed. I think people who are just make it a point to point out their integrity every chance they get, it makes me question that they have any integrity. And he certainly showed his true colors in Survivor season 20, Heroes versus Villains.
I haven't seen Survivor in years.
I haven't either.
I'm gonna have to go back and have a look.
Joe, you were going to say something.
What? Yeah. The whole ego thing. Look, I'm sure that somebody at some point felt that way about me. In fact, I'm pretty confident that that's come across at some point. And it's a shame that sometimes it can be misrepresentative of the actions when people, like I've seen the opposite, right? Where it's like, where people like coast on their like one, like they did one thing and then they try to like coast on that one thing for like the longest time. And like, remember when? And it's like, dude, that was like that wasn't even in this decade. It wasn't even in this century. Like, it's 2014. Like, what are you talking about? Like, come on, man. And constantly with the whole like patting yourself on the back thing, like I've had to deal with people like that. And the way I've dealt with those people is like, just smile and nod. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. That's awesome. But on the flip side, as far as me, I think part of it sometimes comes down misrepresentation when you're trying to figure out something that's like different and like take a different direction and approach, and people are like taking that as a misrepresentation of like, oh, Joe obviously thinks he knows best and blah 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 blah, and it's like, well, we're trying to have a conversation about, we're trying to get to where we want to be, and this is what the data is showing. So this is data driven, not ego driven. Like, I always say, like, Joe doesn't need to be right, we need to be right. Like, we need to get it right. And then and I think a great example of that, to go outside of just our examples, personal examples, was when Steve Jobs was getting ready to die, he was like, don't do what everybody did at Disney. Ask what Walt would do, because Walt ain't there, and you can't sit around 20 years later asking like, well, what would Walt do? It's like, well, you need to do what Joe's gonna do, what Sam's gonna do, what Jen's gonna do, what Nick's gonna do, what Tim's gonna do, right? What Brent's gonna do. Like, you can't sit around and wait for somebody that's not even alive anymore to formulate some kind of answer. Because then you always be second guessing, like, well, maybe they wouldn't have done that. Maybe it would be this way or that way. So it's like, yeah, don't get stuck in that pattern of like, what would somebody else do?
I think that ego confidence, even though they've got two completely different, they mean different things. There is some sort of crossover, because when you're not feeling confident about something, it is the ego that's kind of rising up to show that confidence. And so I think it's about balancing it out, because as business owners, we have to show a certain amount of confidence and certainty, or people aren't going to buy from us. But do you guys feel confident and certain 100% of the time? Like, we'd be lying if we said we were, right? Because we're not. Every single one of us humans are making it up every single day. I bet Richard Branson and Tony Robbins are still making it up every day. That's what happens. But we have to show this confidence. And what we've got to make sure that we do is keep that in check.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, without a little bit of ego, we wouldn't get very far. But it's when we're driven by the ego and we try to, just get by with forever on our ego. That's where we stumble, where we fail. I mean, we all know people in business who are infamous for alienating people. And a lot of times that is because they're an ego-driven person, they're an ego-driven leader, and people, like you were saying earlier, like Joe, you're like, you just nod politely at people and then get out of their get out of their life as soon as possible. That's they've alienated you, right? That person has alienated you. You don't want to do business with them. You don't want to collaborate with them. You don't want to be at a networking event with them. You want to get sort of out of their circle. So yeah, but I agree. There is a bit of ego that is needed. I mean, it's there for a reason, but it's often just abused, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Guys, help me out here. Brent's written, it would be easy for people to think Tim Cook's decision post jobs was, who's Tim Cook?
That's Tim Apple. That's
oh, there you go.
it's Apple. It's Apple CEO.
Right. So, there you go.
So I wanted to add to that thing there is, supposedly when Steve died, there was already I think 3 to 5 years of game plan already laid out for Apple to basically this is where we're headed. They already had their projects and things. So it's when Tim took over, it wasn't so much okay, what's the next 2 years going to look like? It was more what's 5 and 6 and 7 years going to look like? What's 10 years going to look like, post Steve Jobs? Because they already know where they're stuff's already in development. They're already probably far enough along in their roadmaps that it's not going to change where they're going post Steve Jobs. It's you got to look 5 years, 7 years, 10 years down the road. And then Brent asked, which well-known CEOs do you think get it right? Do either of you have one that comes to mind?
I think I'm a big fan of Richard Branson, but I think
it's the first one that came to mind for me too.
Yeah, I think I think he's just great in so many ways. But I think to get to that sort of where you're a household name CEO, you've probably had to set your ego aside quite a bit in order to get there.
I think that what I love about Branson is he clearly displays asking questions to other people. And I think that's what it's about. Ego-driven people are constantly saying me, 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 me.
Yes.
Where he's someone that will ask a question and sit back and listen. And I think that the CEOs, whilst I can't name any off the top of my head, it's more about the people that want to listen and take in the data and care about other people rather than saying about how good they are. So it's more an action, I guess.
So I'm gonna go out and say Lisa Su, just so that I have somebody different, because I don't disagree with the Richard Branson answer. But Lisa Su from AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, they make processors and graphics cards and things of that nature. But she has taken the company, when she came on board, she took their company. They were basically it wasn't there's only 2 companies that make processors for desktop computers. It's them and Intel, and it wasn't even close. Intel was so far ahead of anything that AMD had put out. And when she came on board, they put the right people. She got the right people in place and built a roadmap for where they could head in the next 5 to 10 years with a new architecture, and put a plan in place. And now they are absolutely killing it. I mean, their stock at one point was down to a couple of dollars. At one, let me see here. Their stock, just in 2017, their stock was down to, or 2015, they were down to $2.33. Today, they're sitting at $85.
Wow!
Just to give you a high level view of where they're at, right?
That's awesome.
And the cap for them is still probably quite a bit higher than that. So yeah, it's absolutely incredible, and she's a huge part of that reason that she was able to do that and pull them up. And yeah, I think Tim Cook does a great job as well. With their ability to recognize where they're at and then make changes. I mean, they're seeing that now with their new MacBooks that are out. I really would love to have one in my hands, but don't quite have a use case for it right now. So yeah, it's Apple's Tim Cook's a great example of that, and he's going to probably be retiring soon too. So we'll have to see who's next. And we're only when did Steve Jobs die? In 2011? 2011, yeah. So we're 9 years out from Steve's death, and so far it's been in great hands.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And there's the awkward silence.
Yeah, it always finds its way in. Well, so what do we like? How do both of you keep yourselves away from having the ego, take over, right? Because there's times where it's like when you know you're right, and you're like, you know what, I'm putting my fist down here, and I'm just gonna make it. I'm just gonna make it known that I know I'm right. It's had to have happened to
And
both of you, 'cause I know. I mean,
of
I've been
course, it
there.
has to happen.
I mean, whether
Because
it's data driven or not, right? You have to like butt heads at some point.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Of course.
But how do you how do you keep it in check, I guess, is the question.
I'd never really thought about keeping it in check. I
Yeah.
think for me, it's just a feeling. I feel if I'm like, actually, let's take it back to the values. Am I acting in a way that is aligned with my values, or am I not? I think for me, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's a good, guiding light for you. I mean, to me, it's like my business is never about me. It's about like the service and putting something like into the world that people want and that's worth money. So that means, if I have the best idea in the room, great. But if somebody else has a better idea, awesome. And, creating something that people want to be part of, right? So, building a team and valuing them and recognizing them, and accepting all failure. I mean, that's really what a leader is about. It's like you accept the failure and you let other people get credit for the success. I mean, to me, that's what it's all about. But yeah, making sure that your actions align with your value. It can't be about you. It can't be about, you always taking credit. You can't micromanage people. I mean, you have to set everybody up to win. That's your team, your business, your clients. Everybody should be winning if you're doing it right.
I'm thinking about the time that where maybe over the years where my ego has, let's not even use the word came in like a roaring lion, were normally times where I wasn't happy with the way things were going, maybe weren't happy with who was on my team. There was always something that was jarring, and that was when it was almost like my ego had to take over from the uncertainty of everything that was happening. So I think for me, that's another guiding factor, or has been, definitely. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, I try my best to always be reevaluating what I could be doing better, and how I'm portraying things, and like looking at things from a different angle of like somebody else's perspective, and obviously I make mistakes, and things don't always come out the way I intend for them to come out, or hope that it will come out or be brought across. I mean, look, as a person that comes from an IT background, with computers and stuff, it's always hard to like not be the jerk, the egotistical jerk that like, oh, it was user error, obviously, like, that's thing is like, I'm not like, it's not my computer, it's not my situation, like, I'm just here to show you how it's supposed to work. I don't know, so it's like constantly showing people that they're doing it wrong, but that's not always the case, right? Like sometimes things are just don't work the way they're supposed to work when they're supposed to work. But yeah, I just, constantly looking at what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, reevaluating how could I, say this better, and then how not to. There's like a handful of questions that you shouldn't ask, right? Like, or the way you're supposed to ask them. You ask the what questions instead of the why questions, because whys come off as like you're being kind of confrontational and like you're questioning somebody's reasoning and like that you could do it better or anything to that effect. So that's really the best that I've been able to put together over the years. It's just like constantly look at it from how somebody else is going to perceive what you're saying.
And I like that. Asking better questions is a really good way to not come across like an egotistical jerk.
So
Yeah.
true.
Because you can think certain things, but you need to say
yeah.
them in a different way. We're all human, right?
Open the door, right? Yeah, open the door to that conversation. You can't just be like, the root of what I really want to ask is, why are you thinking that this is going to be like this, or why are you doing this? But like, what I need to ask is like the couple of what questions, the how question, and then we can get to the why question, because you'll already be there by the time I've asked all those questions. It's like, but sometimes like the brain's what's the shortcut, like boom, like let's just go right there.
Exactly.
And it's not going to give you the same result, unfortunately.
Totally.
Was there anything else you wanted to add on that?
Well, I think we covered most of it. There's always there are always signs. If you don't know if you're operating from your ego, or if you think, hey, maybe I have an issue here. Just quickly, there's some signs, maybe that you might be running wild with your ego. You listen to advice, but you rarely follow it. You never look for flaws in your own plans and ideas. You try to do everything yourself. Which I love that one, because that's something we deal with at Spirit all the time in the virtual assistant agency, is that some of our potential clients who are new to delegating, they are just hanging on to everything. And I always looked at that as like a control issue, but there's also an ego issue there too, where they have to have their hands on everything, because they want all the credit for all the things, and they think by dispersing the duties in their business that somehow dilutes their role or their contribution to their own business. And it's simply not true. Prioritizing status over service. If how you or appear in your business is more important than the customer service or the quality of the products you're putting out there, you might have an ego problem. If you are driven by people's, accolades and compliments, and therefore they can sort of manipulate you because they know that that's what drives you, then you are you're vulnerable. You and your business are vulnerable to that manipulation. So anyway, I hope it's helpful to anybody out there, because I think we all struggle with it at times, particularly, as Sam said, those times when we're feeling the least secure.
Yeah.
Because humans.
Brent asked, but who decides which idea is better, and does that mean they have an ego if they think that? And I'll say no, because if it's data backed, if there's some kind of proof behind it, then
it may be the better idea. I think the ego would come into play if you were not willing to listen to other people's contributions, or you were not willing to look at flaws in your idea.
And I think the difference is, because we all have an ego, that's what keeps us safe, but it's inflated ego that we're actually talking about. Yes. Because I think as CEOs, we all do need to have an ego. It's just you don't want that to be overinflated so that it actually hurts.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah. And that's what we're talked about today.
Jen, you had one cool thing you wanted to share? Yeah,
I feel like I'm late to the party on this as usual, but there is an app, in case somebody out there is later to the party than I am, called the Marco Polo app.
I'm later to the I've never heard of this.
Okay. All right, I don't feel so bad. Well, I haven't played around with it too much, but essentially it's a communication tool. It's like a video messaging tool, but you don't have to be live. So you can create groups, and you can have friends. And so I could leave you a video or voice message, and you can put notes. That I was missing. Yeah. And you can do all kinds of fun things with it, but you can leave it for somebody to listen or watch later. They can do it live. It's an option, but it's sort of a voicemail, but with video. So I started hearing people, chatter about it on Facebook. People are like, who else is on Marco Polo? And then, all these people are like, I am. And I was like, and they're all people that I, kind of know. And I was like, these people are the kind of people that would know a good app, if they saw one. So I immediately downloaded it, and I tried to make a group with my family, and they were like, is this a scam? What is this? So I was like, okay. So I haven't had a chance to really to test it out yet, but apparently it's very cool. And
I received one of these.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think
I've got...
someone I know sent me one of these.
They sent you like an invitation?
No, not to join, but just sent. Can you send it? Wait, you can't send it to people outside of Marco Polo? Maybe it was a different service they used then.
It adds your contacts, I think, from like Facebook. Like it knows all my contacts, and then you can invite your contacts to join you on Marco Polo. I haven't, like I said, I haven't played with it a lot, but it looks really cool. Like a pretty, I'm always looking for very efficient communication tools, like with Sparent and everything. And we use Voxer a lot, but I like that this was, had a video option.
I just,
okay,
I don't understand. I'm obviously missing something. I don't understand why you wouldn't just take a video and send it to someone on Messenger, because then they can watch it later and it just cuts down another app. But I'm obviously missing something, because I looked at it and went, why would I want an extra app for this when I already have these abilities with other apps that I already have on my phone?
Well, I guess because everything is contained within the app, the video recording, the voice recording, the annotations, the notes. I think you might be able to attach files. I'm not sure. Anyway, I guess because it's all in one place, and you can make groups, and not that you can't do that with Facebook, but I guess it's got some bells and whistles that make it a little bit more practical for
we all like bells and whistles.
I like bells and whistles.
Yeah, bells and whistles are fun.
So I'll know more the more I play with it, but I was desperate to find one cool thing, and that was the coolest thing I'd found this week. So
that's awesome. No, and I'd not heard of it. When I opened up, I was like, oh, I have not heard of this.
It's the only cool thing I found this week. Nothing new has come into my life other than Marco Polo. So
good work, Jen.
Yeah.
I had a story I wanted to share real quick here.
I love
either
this.
of you get this.
Yeah. This is a heart warmer.
I thought we could all use something like this going into. We have Thanksgiving up here, Sam. It's this Thursday here in the States, and so this kid loves Cheetos, and it led him to start a business to help his family move out of a shed into an apartment. Basically, he would hear like the fire truck, the ice cream truck's jingle coming down the street, and he wanted to get flaming hot Cheetos because this is his favorite snack. And
is this a Cheeto truck or an ice cream truck? My ice cream trucks never had anything other than ice cream.
Really?
I guess they've expanded into Cheetos.
Some of them did growing up. Like
okay.
Some of them like we have Mr. Softy around here, and he's just ice cream, but and like frozen treats. But some of the other ones I've had around growing up, they had like a snack rack kind of thing.
All right, I'm missing out. Okay.
But so he wanted his flaming hot Cheetos, and when he got got tired of hearing the word no or seeing the mom's. The
mom's like, kid, we're living in a shed, or we're not going to, we don't have any money for Flamin' Hot Cheetos. We're living in a shed. Look around.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yep. So he decided to start his own business selling plants, and has apparently expanded into a pretty decent sized area. And
start out with those succulents, which are very popular.
So not only does he get his Cheetos, but they're now living in an apartment. I think this is such an awesome story.
It's such a feel-good story. He's adorable. And he was able to bring his sister back to the United States from Mexico. I think she was there, really? And they couldn't afford to bring her here. And why would you want to bring her to a shed? Like, that's not going to work out. So he's a hero of the day.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Although, kudos to his mum, too, for him even having that thought in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the whole family must be amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, that reminds me of that kid that started his own arcade. Kane's Arcade. That's it.
Oh, Kane's Arcade.
I love Kane's Arcade.
That was such a sweet story.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
apparently the website doesn't exist anymore. Okay.
All right.
Good to know. That's a shame. But yeah, no, it's a great story. And now, let's move on to your one.
Take my lunch money.
Yeah.
Take my lunch money. Well, with Black Friday here right around the corner, you see a lot of I don't know, these shop small, please support small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love anything that compiles multiple small businesses in one place to make my shopping easier. It's all about me. But so Lisa Shapiro, who heads DC Fempreneur, whom I'm a member of, she spent countless hours putting together this small business shopping guide from some local small businesses in the DC metro area. I think she did a great job, and I'm going to be doing some holiday shopping. One of the vendors has I don't know if you're going to scroll to it or not, Joe, but there's a Christmas ornament, and it's a dumpster on fire, and it says 2020. I was like, there it is.
There we go.
I was like, yeah, everybody's getting one of those for the holidays. Hope I didn't spoil it for anybody, but everybody needs one of those on their tree this year. Anyway, so I just, I love supporting small businesses, but Amazon is so convenient. So anything that can make it convenient to support them, I love. So I thank DC Fempreneur for putting this together. I love it.
I had a look through. There's a lot in there. This is fantastic.
Yeah, and
really,
it's
really good.
organized really well into categories to make your shopping easier.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So just gonna take some lunch money, probably some dinner money too.
Good work.
Yeah.
But it's small business that keeps the economy turning.
Yep.
So support small business.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You'll be glad you did.
Absolutely.
It'll feed your ego.
No, it'll make you feel good. That's different.
Sure it is.
That was just a call back again. Don't try that at home. I'll leave that to the professionals.
I think it's all perspective at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, good work.
Yes, no, that was good work. So we have some news that we wanted to share with everyone about the show and where it's going and what we're doing. And does anybody want to be the first to speak on this, or do you want to lay it out?
You've been such a great show host, Joe.
Yes, show.
I appreciate that.
I think that you're the best person for the job here.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's like, thanks.
Thanks,
Joe,
Sam. I really wanted you to do it.
Yeah. So the show is going to be coming to an end.
What? Nobody told me.
You didn't know.
So,
you weren't in the group text.
It's me and Joe. We've got bigger
It's a group of
egos.
two.
Damn it. I'm always the last to know around here.
Yeah, so we collectively all have a lot of projects going on and things going on, and it's been a fun almost year with the show. We've done a lot. Yeah, I mean I've really enjoyed. It's been the best part of my week on many a weeks through 2020, and but all great things have to come to an end, and. So we, collectively all decided that it's probably best for us to put this off to the side here. So what we're gonna do is one more episode next week at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 a.m. On Tuesday, Australian Eastern Time, and we're going to basically, when we started the show, we talked about what we wanted to get out of the show and what we wanted to get, I guess through at least this year with doing the show and what we, so I thought it'd be fitting that we come together one last time and talk about what we learned, what we grew from, and where we're going to go, what next steps we're going to take from here. So we'll be back for one last episode after this week. So
yeah, feel free to beg us to stay.
Yeah. It could work. You never know.
You never know. It could work.
It could.
I mean,
It could.
And we could have radio silence.
I mean, speaking of egos, like you podcasters have them, and we really are driven by reviews, accolades, compliments.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
But yeah, no, this has been great fun, and I'm so glad we did it. It's been such an experience.
And you never know what will happen
absolutely
in the
has.
future.
Yeah,
You never know.
bands
The,
get back
um,
together all
They
the
do.
time.
They do.
The feed will stay up for at least a while, for at least another couple of months at the very least. So it's not like you won't be able to get these episodes. They'll always be available. We are on YouTube. I don't know if everybody realizes that.
I didn't even know.
I didn't know we're on
R6.
YouTube.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
a
yeah,
YouTube
we-
star, and I didn't even know it.
to all 3 subscribers that we have.
Wow.
We have 3 subscribers.
I'm probably one or maybe all 3 of them. I'm not sure, but
It's clearly not the 3 of us. There's clearly 2 other people out there.
Could have 5 subscribers.
well, I have plenty of YouTube channels. So anyway, yeah, so it'll always be up on YouTube. The website will probably be up for at least another year, maybe 2. Since it's just a domain name, it's not a huge expense, and that'll keep up the RSS feed. So yeah, so it's not going away. They're there for you to reference, and of course Facebook has these as well, so you can always go back to
Yeah.
Facebook to reference them.
Mm-hmm.
But
The good news is our businesses are thriving despite this chaotic year, and that's it's taking up a lot of our time. So it's a good problem to have, but we will miss
Absolutely.
this.
But we will be back next
Absolutely.
week.
Yeah.
Yes,
We
we
will
will
be
be
back
back
next
next week for
We will be
episode
back.
41. That'll be our final episode for now. And it's sad, but all good things come back around too. So we'll see
Exactly.
what happens. It's been an amazing experience, and the people that have watched us throughout this whole year have been amazing. People like Brent. And Brent says that it's sad to hear, but best of luck with other endeavors.
He's just willing to let us go. No begging. Okay.
yeah, right. He's just like,
He's like, so
See you
long.
later. See you later.
I just got an hour back. Thanks. Best of luck.
Oh, dear.
But yeah, I mean, people like Lou and Mary Sue and Brent
Mary
and
Sue.
Tim,
Marsha.
Nick, Marsha. Who else am I missing?
Did you say Tim? You said Tim.
I said Tim. Was there a Maria? No, wait. I think I'm thinking of Marsha. Yeah, I'm blanking on some other names here, but Lisa, right? Lisa was in quite a few of those. Not into begging for no reason.
Wow.
Not even willing to try.
Damn.
Wow. We got long memories.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyways.
The memories, the lessons, and all that, and the great things that we've learned. Right, Rocketbook. Right. There's so many things. So we'll talk
I
about
mean,
all of those. great things.
Absolutely.
It was worth it just for Rocketbook.
Totally, Jen. It changed the way that my coaches do everything. See? Awesome.
I didn't share the first comment.
Oh, Joe.
We're all ego-driven to some extent, though, right? Curious to know where you think the line is that it turns negative.
Well, we covered that.
Yeah, I think it's just like
Brent
when you stop
liked.
listening, right? When you stop listening, like, and that's, to me, that's when it turns negative. So you're welcome, Brent. Anyway, there's still time to.
He's so needy. I feel like Brent is very needy.
Anyway,
Oh.
there's still time to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and tell us what you want to hear next week on our final episode of the Business Geeks podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Business Geeks podcast, share it with the business geek in your life. Send us your questions and suggestions to questions@businessgeekspodcast.com. Catch us next Monday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, to Tuesday, 7:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. For Sam and Jen, I'm Super Joe Pardo, and we will see you next week for our final episode. Take
Best
care.
of luck.